What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Premium Podcast. I am your host, David McDonald, aka DMD the GOAT. And today we have to give roses to a man who is changing the world. And he goes by the name of Moses West. Moses West has created an invention, an atmospheric water generator, to be exact. It's a device that extracts water from humid, ambient air, producing potable water or drinkable water. Water vapor in the air can be extracted either by condensation, cooling the air below its dew point, exposing the air to desiccants, using membranes that only pass water vapor, collecting fog, or pressurizing the air. He is doing something absolutely amazing. We have to get to know the man a little bit. So I started doing a little bit of research. So essentially, he's a self-described military brat. He was born in Georgia. He moved to Germany and spent most of his childhood in Houston, Texas. He served 3 years as an Army Ranger, then went to flight school and piloted helicopters, including the Chinook. Inside joke. A combat injury sidelined his career, but didn't slow him down. After retiring from the military, he circled the world, traveling from Germany to Sweden to Australia and eventually to Hawaii. While in Oahu, a meeting with a next door neighbor changed his course once again. Now, this man is literally turning air into water. He is turning air into water. He's extracting air and making it water. I get it. He's extracting air. But my point is this is groundbreaking. And I think it's not something, again, that's been talked about in the news. And I think it's very important to know, because these type of technologies are going to help us understand if it's a good idea to move to a state that may have, large amounts of decline in their water supply, right? And so fresh potable water, we're just talking about in the nation, right? In the United States. But imagine how many countries, how many families, how many children can be positively impacted by this invention. So let's take a look at his story. It's an incredible one.
I built something called an atmospheric water generator. And an atmospheric water generator is, we all know that there's only 3 sources of water on the earth. We've all learned it in science class. And there's 3 sources of water that exist on the earth. It's in a liquid, it's in a solid, and it's in a gas. And so the easy water that we drink every day, it comes from a surface water like Lake Michigan. What the water is doing is just the planet is getting warmer, so the water's starting to evaporate. And naturally, when the water evaporates, where does it go? It just goes into the air. If you have a glass of water in a room, it evaporates. It's in the air in the room.
This is a very good example of stopping to smell the roses. And what that means is we walk by roses every single day. Okay, maybe not, right? But my point is we walk by flowers, we see trees in the air. We don't really think about how these trees, help us with oxygen and allow us to breathe and this, the third, right? The bigger picture. When you think about a glass in a room that has water in it, that if you let it sit there long enough, eventually will have no water in it. It just disappears. Well, it doesn't really just disappear, right? It actually goes into the atmosphere. And so this idea, right, of stopping to smell the roses, now that this water is in the atmosphere, it's technically just there, and then you have a change in the environment, right, in the climate that you're experiencing, right? How can you extract that water out of the air, and can you make it or turn it into something that can now serve people in a capacity, of giving them something to drink? I know it seems so simple, but this is absolutely mind-blowing, because these are the type of things that we overlook every day in our journey in self-discovery, in our journey of trying to find our life passion or our life purpose. And so little lessons like this, I think, are invaluable.
Many people here don't understand that the water that's in the atmosphere is so plentiful that we can use it. But you see this process every day. In the summer, when you sit at a table and you have a glass on the table and all your friends have a glass of lemonade or iced tea or cold beer or drinks, what you see is those glasses sweat. You see that. You see your air conditioner drip. Well, this is the moisture that's being condensed out of the air. And so basically what I do is I've created a machine that does that, but it's on steroids. Condensing the moisture out of the atmosphere, what I've learned over the years, is a viable, energy efficient source that can operate completely on renewable energy. On the island of Vieques in Puerto Rico, working with my foundation, we supplied enough water.
See that? Look at that. Look at that. That is, and I'm a really big fan. For those of you who follow me, you know I'm a really big fan of celebrating people as they're coming through their higher levels of greatness and they're achieving higher levels of greatness. And so when I see this, this makes me very happy. And I hold space for Mr. West to, go on it and make this, a global thing and be able to benefit from it, because it's a huge, huge help to society.
For 5,000 people to drink water. We were making water that far exceeded World Health Organization standards, far exceeded EPA standards. Right now, what I've been doing is I've been working with the military, and so they have it for their mobility needs. So when the military pulls into an area, one of the problems they had is that when you fly in water in a large military aircraft after a disaster, it takes up the entire plane because water is so heavy. With this technology, what it allows for the user to do is to have a system in place that produces the water as the people need it continuously, and it frees those planes up to do something else. You saw in Katrina, the people were standing out, there were signs they needed water. If they had this machine during Hurricane Katrina, all they would have to do is pull it out, turn it on, and they would be producing water at that spot at that time. So right now today in California, in these areas where they're running short of water, this is a technology that has a place in a home right now today. I started doing this in 2012, doing my first steps of trying to tell everybody that the Chicken Little thing, that the sky was falling. And today we've reached that place that I was talking about then. So I'm
Incredible. So for me, I love California. I love Texas. I love Florida. I like the climates there. I like the weather. It's very warm. But one thing, but I have a family. And so I think about Vegas too. You can throw Nevada in there. And one thing I think about is, in the event they were ever to run out of water, what would I do? Now, okay, I get it. You can have all of your, you can have a home here in Seattle and have your portfolio in Seattle and then move to, any of these other states and, always come back. But my point is what would I do? And I'm not saying that it's hindering me or stopping me from going there, but this is just a thought that's crossed my consciousness. And a device like this solves that problem. It solves the problem of water shortages around the world. I mean, this man is getting inquiries, from the Ukraine, and they're asking, "Hey, can we use it here in the Ukraine?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course. You can break it down. You can put it together." Now, imagine, from a sales perspective, right? I'm just like, yeah, it works anywhere, American made. But the cool thing is, imagine you can now get this in the size of, a handheld device. And now you have this producing water for you, for every day, one whole pitcher, the daily recommended amount of consumption for water is generated all in this little handheld device. And it's available to you for the spectacular price of $39.99, right? He has a model to solve a big world problem. And then for those areas where it gets a little bit tight, he can scale the model down. And so I just think overall, we have to celebrate this man. This is an incredible achievement. And Moses West, if you want to support him, I was able to find him on this website, Freedom Solar Power, where he's being featured, and there's a contact number there. So big roses to Moses West. And thank you to all of the viewers who tuned into this episode of the Premium Podcast. I am your host. Continue making great things happen, and I'll see you on the next one.